booktube, Matt here from Science Fiction Reads with a little tiny book haul here. Just a few odds and ends, but a couple things that I'm pretty excited about. Let's start with a couple randoms here. I've got this Del Rey book by Christopher Rowley, Golden Sunlands, which at the time I picked it up, I had read the synopsis, but it's weeks later and I remember nothing about it. But it's got cool cover art, and I haven't read anything but from Christopher Rowley. Yeah, it says Frontier World on the back. That's all I would have to read to be sold for science fiction. If it takes place on a frontier world, I'm in. Jack Vance, you don't find many copies, at least in my experience, I don't find much Jack Vance. This is The Brave Free Men, which is the second book in the World of Durdain series, or book 2 of the Battle of Survival in the World of Durdain. The Brave Free Men. I normally probably wouldn't buy this because it's the second book in a series, and you can probably get an omnibus pretty easy, but I mean, look at the cover art. This is a Del SF book from this is the first printing from 1973. I wanted to see if there was credit for the cover artist, but I'm not seeing it. Yeah, and of course it's got the colored text block, which I love, especially when it's a dark color. So yeah, I need to get back to Jack Vance. It's been so long. I think I've only really read the first book in the Dying Sun, or Dying Earth. Yeah, Dying Earth series, and that was a long time ago, and several short stories, but I have to get to him. Michael Bishop, Ancient of Days, another author I need to get to. Ira at SF Words of Wonder has read a couple of his books and talked about them recently. And so this one, I believe, is a half man, half ape, and his struggle to find meaning and find his place in the world kind of thing, maybe, from what I remember. Fairly nice. I like that simple cover art. I think that would be quite a good literary read, at least from what I've heard of Bishop. Here's a real random. Wild Wraith's Last Battle from Phyllis Ann Carr, an author I've heard of but don't really know anything about her. I believe this is about like the spirit of a forest doing something wrong, and her punishment is being remade in the form of a human. That's her punishment or something. It just sounds like a good fantasy, and it's a great looking Berkeley fantasy from the mid-'80s, I would guess. This is from '85, but there was an Ace edition in '82. And kind of like an old doll yellow spine, we've got some artwork in the front. When will I ever read it? No idea, but it sounded interesting. Then I've got, let's get through these two. I bought this thinking I would replace my rough copy, one of the John Carter books, but unfortunately, the text is surrounded by white, which none of the other books are, and it would have stood out. It would have been the only one with a white text on the spine. I think it is better condition, but I could not take one of the yellow text spines away and I just have one white one. So, and then similar to that, I picked up The Return of Nathan Brazil by Chalker, which is part of the Well World books. I was pretty sure I already had this, but I thought this was in better shape, but it turns out the other one I already have is better than this, so I'll get rid of that. And then a Brian Aldiss, this is a history of science fiction, but this is Trillion Years Free. I believe I have Billion Years Free. So this is the revised edition. Great picture of Great Bear right there. And when was this put out? This is a Paladin Grafton book from 1988. So yeah, I have a couple history type books on science fiction. I don't have an interest in reading such a thing right now, but probably in the future. It's a good thing to have to refer to. Now I've got 2 other books here and 1 DVD. A book I already have in paperback, but I couldn't let this go, even in its poor condition for, I think I paid $10. I've since wrapped it in a Brodart jacket, so it's at least preserved in the condition it's in. This is Fury by Henry Kuttner. I can't remember who the publisher is. We'll find out in a second. But as you can see, the jacket is in rough shape, but I could not pass by such a cool copy of this. Okay, so my phone died there, but I was talking about Theory by Kuttner. I have not read it yet. And I'm probably not going to read any Kuttner until Richard, Ira, and I get to the best of Henry Kuttner, because I found reading a short story collection is a great way to be introduced to an author. So I'll hold off on that. Anyways, this was a Grosset and Dunlop book published in, if I can find the info here, I think this copy is from 1950. It's got a foreword by Groff Conklin, which is really cool. It's got like the beveled pages, but yeah, just a really neat old hardcover. You know, they look like awful when they're in this condition, but if you just wrap it in a jacket, I mean, it feels nice, and you've at least preserved the state it's in. It's not going to get any worse. So really excited to have that. And then last but not least, I've taken a bit of a break with my reading of Clark Ashton Smith, but this came in the mail. The Book of Hyperborea, edited by Will Murray. This was put out by Necromonicon Press in, God, early 2000s, I think. First printing was 96. So they put out different collections of his stories, but these are hard to find, and this was on eBay with no bids on it yet. So I put a bid and I won it for $20, which I was shocked. And it was shipped from Germany for $5. So this was $25. And it's the kind of thing I will occasionally buy, read, and then sell again. I don't know when I'll get to this, but there's actually a cool, yeah, there's a nice illustration here from one of only 2 stories from this collection that I've actually read. So this is really neat. I read all his stories in his Zothique setting, and I'm as equally excited to read all of them in the Hyperborea setting, which is a prehistory continent that has lots of people running around and lots of demons and necromancers and stuff, from what I can tell. So I'm excited to read that, and when I do get back into reading some Clark Ashton Smith, it'll be after I have rewatched the documentary that came out a few years ago. This was put out by Hippocampus Press, which is the same publisher that I've been buying collections of his work from. So I saw this years ago when you could pay to rent it on Vimeo. If you're at least in Canada, like this is on Amazon and maybe Netflix or something. Not Netflix, Amazon and something else, but not in Canada. So again, I found it somewhere and I bought it with the intention of probably watching it and just selling it again, because I couldn't find any way of watching it. So I remember really enjoying this, even though I had never read anything by him. So someday coming up, I'm going to watch that and get back into reading him. I do have hopefully a interesting book haul coming up. There's an opportunity coming up, and I might score some sweet books. So we'll see about that. Otherwise, I don't know if this will be out before or after the video Richard is putting out on September 2nd. But either way, we have a 3-way conversation between Richard, myself, and Ira at SF Words of Wonder about the best of Fritz Leiber. So if you haven't seen that, check that out, because we have a lot of fun talking about those collections. And until then, see you in the next one.